Hi, I've got something you'll be interested in. Those performance upgrades we discussed after the last race. They're on the car and the data looks promising. Take a look at the details.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Sauber Career Mode, part number 18 for the Mexican Grand Prix. And as you heard from Chris, we've got some new upgrades on the car. And this is the engine upgrade that we got purchased in the last race in the US. So I'm hoping that's going to allow us to be a little bit faster on the straights, especially at this particular circuit where we've got two long straights, particularly the main straight that starts off the lap. So I'm hoping that's going to give us a little bit more of an advantage over the likes of McLaren, Honda, and we're a little bit closer to the likes of the Renault-powered cars, etc. So fingers crossed that's going to give us a good platform. Let's get into practice.
Hello and welcome from Mexico City, where the teams are getting ready for today's practice session here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. We can see, of course, plenty of activity in the garages as we wait for the green light to get this session underway. Anthony Davidson, thank you for joining me once again. What are you going to be looking out for once the cars get out there on the circuit today?
Well, naturally, in any free practice session, you can never be sure exactly what programs the teams are running, how much fuel they've put in, and so on. So it's important to resist the temptation to draw any firm conclusions from the fastest times on the monitor. What we can do, however, is look for consistent pace over the course of multiple laps. So if someone does half a Grand Prix distance and they're consistently half a second quicker than another driver doing the same, then that's generally a good indicator of a car with a solid race pace.
Alright, here we are in Mexico with practice one, starting off as always with the track acclimatization. First off, looking at the very long main straight heading into a heavy braking zone for turn one. Very easy to get wrong, as you've seen in real life for the likes of Hamilton and also Verstappen outbraking themselves in the race in real life a couple of years ago. Anyways, now into the more technical section of the circuit. It's a lot of sweeping left and right hand corners. It's very tricky to get right, especially in a car that's not really suited for the sort of track, especially with the fact that we haven't got much aerodynamic performance compared to the rest of the teams. But really, we've just got to try and hook it up as best we can on the single lap pace. So anyways, we're now on to the tyre wear test program, and we managed to get the maximum available resource points out of this particular practice program, as well as tracking acclimatization, which is absolutely fantastic. We then moved on into fuel saving. Now this is a little bit trickier than I thought it was going to be. I thought I would be able to save a lot of fuel around the twisty section around this sort of area in sector 2, but it's quite tricky to actually lift off a bit, but we were able to get this objective as well. We then moved on into the qualifying program. This is because later on I think this is now practice 2, later on in the practice session, in which I normally do the race strategy, the weather was meant not to be very good, so I thought, let's get the qualifying program sorted and also have a much fresher engine with regards to this, so that such that we're able to get the maximum number of resource points available. We managed to get the minimum objective on the first lap, and then on the second lap we were able to get the purple objective, which is absolutely fantastic. We then moved on into practice 3 with the race strategy, and to see how fast we can go on these super soft tyres. It may come in handy with regards to the race strategy, but that depends on where we end up on the grid as well. So I'm not sure where we'll be on the grid, but we kind of need a good points haul, considering after what happened in USA with Toro Rosso getting a good chunk of points thanks to a good strategy from them. So let's see what we can do on our end and to respond to this. Let's get into qualifying.
Welcome to qualifying here in Mexico, where the cars will be going out on track very shortly and battling it out to secure pole for tomorrow's Grand Prix. When it comes to getting lap time out of this circuit, it's traditionally been about maximizing top speed. Do you simply remove as much downforce as possible, hang on in the corners and max out down the straights?
The teams will have arrived with all manner of parts designed to capitalize on the long straights. The cars will be that much harder to drive in the corners, but everyone will be in the same boat.
Alright, here we are starting our opening lap in Q1 on a very glorious start to qualifying. It's not expected to stay like this for very long though, so we're really just going to try and get as many laps as we can on these ultra soft tyres. Of course, this first lap is really just trying to get that initial lap time on the board such that we have a delta in the top right-hand corner to compare to, as we now cut onto our second lap. Currently sat in P4 for the moment, mainly due to the fact that not many drivers have set an initial lap time. So really, we're just, as you can see a little bit later on in the lap, we're actually just in front of our initial delta, which was a little bit disappointing on that second lap. So it's quite a scruffy second lap that we ended up going on. So unfortunately, didn't really improve too much, and as a result, we start dropping down field a little bit. Although we set a very good first sector, which is fantastic, on a brand new set of ultra soft tyres, and also on the lowest fuel mixture I could possibly maintain with the highest engine mode that I'm able to use as well. As we now come towards the line, we're currently sat in P14 for now. We do, however, move up into P7, and that lap time we just did right there allows us to progress safely into the second part of qualifying, which is quite surprising for me, but especially with the fact that our I think that engine upgrade actually helped us quite a bit with that, getting us in. As you can see, the guys that missed out, Jolyon Palmer, Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll, our team at Wehrlein, who managed to out-qualify Stoffel Van Dorn, which is absolutely fantastic for him. But Alonso somehow managing to scrape into the into Q2. He must have had a blistering second sector of some sort because of how good that McLaren is with regards to its chassis. But of course, on the straights, it's terrible. So, anyways, we're now into Q2, trying to get another lap time on board. This is the same set of tyres that I used to put that fast lap in at the end of Q1. So, yeah, we had to get that lap time on board. And also, we came out a little bit later on, just before the heavens actually started to open. As you can see, the weather's changed quite a bit, and it actually starts to rain towards the end of my lap, so I start actually losing a little bit of time as we come across the start-finish line. Move up into 10th place, though, so we may have an opportunity to get into the final part of qualifying, and yes, we actually end up doing so as the rain starts to come down. So, kind of got a little bit lucky there with the weather and getting that lap time on the board prior to everyone else getting a second run out there on ultra soft tyres, because the weather conditions, unfortunately, have prevented them from improving. So it means we're now into Q3, which is absolutely fantastic. Didn't really expect that to happen. Having a quick look to see who got eliminated. Nico Hulkenberg, Magnussen, our rival at the moment. Grosjean in the other Haas, Fiat, and then Alonso rounding off the top 15 right there. So it's a bonus that we're in Q3 somehow. I didn't expect ourselves to be this far up the grid, especially with this particular circuit. Anyways, we're into the final part of qualifying now, and it is intermediate conditions, and everyone's going to be out on the intermediate tyres. So it's really just trying to see what sort of lap time we can get on the board on these intermediates. I'm pretty sure it might be a challenge, or I don't know whether it will be a challenge or not, because the fact is we've had pretty good wet weather pace in previous Grand Prix in places like Hungary, etc. But we've also had bad weekends like in Japan. As we now come across the line, and as it stands right now, we're currently sat in 6th place. So we cut to the end of the session. We end up dropping down one position into 7th, but it's fantastic. We managed to out-qualify the home race hero in Sergio Perez, and managed to split both Force Indians, which was crazy. And we also out-qualified a Red Bull in Max Verstappen, who didn't even set a lap time. So, yeah, it's a really good momentum that we've got. Let's see if we can translate this good performance into the race.
And joining me amongst the cheers of the phenomenal Mexican fans, it's Anthony Davidson. And welcome along to this historic circuit. What an occasion this is.
Yeah, it's hard to believe when you see the passion this country has for the sport that Formula One was away from Mexico for so long. It's fantastic to be here, and let's hope that the race lives up to the party atmosphere we've got going. It's a real fast track, this. We get up to Monza levels of speed down the main straight thanks to the high altitude here at over 2,000 metres above sea level. And with that comes the challenge of having less downforce in the corners. So that makes it a really demanding circuit, both for the drivers and engineers.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Ricciardo, Kimi Raikkonen, and Ocon, Sauber, Perez, Hulkenberg, and Kevin Magnussen, Alonso, Palmer, Lance Stroll, and Massa, Verstappen, Wehrlein, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Roman Grosjean. Sainz and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
so try your best to hold on to this position in the race.
Thanks, Jeff. Let's have a quick look at the race strategy. As you saw from the grid, quite a few drivers taking a couple of penalties here and there. This is the reason why I took the engine penalties in USA, just so we could then profit from those drivers that then take penalties towards the last 3 races of the season. So having a look at the race strategy, it's going to be a 2-stopper, which is quite rare in this game, especially with the fact that the tyre wear isn't as punishing compared to previous games and also previous seasons in real life. Starting off on the ultra soft tyre, then moving on to the two super soft stints towards for the end of the race. Yeah, I think that's the same ultra soft set that we set our best lap time on in Q2 as well. So I'm hoping they're not too damaged from pushing them hard to get into the final part of qualifying. But let's see how we get on in this Grand Prix. It's going to be a bit of a challenge off that start because of our inferior power compared to the guys that we've managed to out-qualify. But we'll have to see if we can get a good start. We should be able to maintain position. But it's going to be, might be a crazy turn 1 here. It's a very long run down into turn 1 and also a very heavy braking zone. So a lot of things could definitely go wrong. But let's be positive and let's get on with the Grand Prix.
The rest of the grid is forming up. Be patient and watch for the lights.
Lights out and away we go. And it's an okay-ish start from our end. And the big surprise is that Perez hasn't had the greatest of starts. And it's the Renault of Nico Hulkenberg that's challenging us as we accelerate down towards the heavy braking zone of turn number 1 here, as Hulkenberg is gone ahead of us. And look at that. We've got 3 or 4 cars that are going side by side into turn 1 a bit further ahead. Ocon having a great start in the Force India as the 2 Ferrari and Mercedes of Raikkonen and Hamilton go side by side. We're trying to do the same with Nico Hulkenberg, but it looks like he's managed to fend us off for now. But looks like Hamilton hasn't had the greatest of exits out of the corner, which means we may have an opportunity to overtake the Mercedes and potentially Hulkenberg. Decide not to go too deep into the corner, because otherwise it probably would result in contact with Ocon. But before to get a little bit wide on the exit of the corner, and that allows Hulkenberg then to take the inside line for the hairpin right there, as Hamilton then goes side by side with a Haas driver who is able to fend us off. As we now cut to the start of lap 2, Hamilton unable to make any manoeuvres on us so far. I think our improved power unit is proving to be pretty good so far. I think either that or Hamilton's running in a slightly lower engine mode, or his engine is quite warm. Anyways, on lap 3 now, here's his first opportunity to try and overtake us, trying to go around the outside of us at the end of the second DRS zone. No DRS in operation just yet, because it starts on the next lap. We're on lap 3, but the DRS wasn't activated just yet. As Hulkenberg and Ocon, we managed to keep within the DRS range of those 2 guys, which is allowing us to fend off Hamilton for now. As you can see, he's not been able to get too close to it, despite the superior straight line speed advantage that the Mercedes should have on paper. It must be the fact that he's got a worn engine of some sort, or he's running in lean mixture for the at this current point in the Grand Prix. We're now on to lap 5, still in the DRS range of just about the DRS range of Hulkenberg, as we are asked by the engineer to change the strategy. But this time Hamilton might have a run on us up the inside into turn 1. We break a little bit later though, and we're able to fend him off. He doesn't decide to go for a manoeuvre. We're really hurting his race and any last-ditch championship hopes that he's got, because he really needs the last 3 races to go towards his way if he has any chance to win this championship. And he also needs to have some bad luck to happen to Ferraris. As we now are on lap 7, Hulkenberg looks like he's got past Ocon, and we've now closed up to the back of the other Force India. We're now in a Force India sandwich, as I think Hamilton has made a pit stop. I'm not sure whether he's going to be, that was just for an undercut purposes, or the fact that he's actually on a 3-stop strategy. We'll have to wait and see on that front. We're still in the RS range of Ocon as we now start lap 8. Perez is though caught right up to the back of us. He must have a nice fresh engine in that Force India, and it's his home Grand Prix of this race. He's going to give the crowd something to cheer about here as he tries to go up the inside of us into turn 1. We're going to see if we can try and fend him off here by holding it around the outside. Hopefully his teammate Ocon holds him up a little bit. We're still going to go side by side through turn 2 and turn 3. He's right there on the inside as we now come onto the back straight with the second DRS zone in operation. Perez is now trying to accelerate away from us. We're trying to stick in the slipstream of the Force India, going up the inside into the corner. I think we might have made the maneuver stick, which is absolutely fantastic. We're able to hold on to position for now, as it's actually our pit stop lap at the end of this lap, so we're going to be coming in hopefully as an undercut to Ocon in front. We're probably going to lose out to Hamilton, but depending on what his strategy is, we may end up regaining that position back. So anyways, let's have a look and see whether the mechanics can get us a good pit stop and ensure that we stay ahead of Checo here as we come into our pit box. So we're putting on the super soft tyres for the middle stint. We just about get ahead, I think, of Perez. I think we kind of ghosted a little bit. I'm not 100% sure why that was the case, but we did rejoin in front of the Force India, which is absolutely fantastic. Currently sat in 19th place. Hamilton has already gone through, and he's on ultra soft tyres, which means he's going to have to make at least one more pit stop in this Grand Prix. Maybe he goes on yellow wall soft tyres later on if he's going on to a two-stopper. We're now on to lap 10. Perez having another go at us into turn 1. We actually, Ocon actually came in on the next lap, and both of us managed to get the undercut on him, which was fantastic. But we're now going side by side with his teammate. Perez has managed to make the maneuver stick. We're going to see if we can try and fight back in the same spot that we did previously. No DRS though for us this time around. Going up the inside, Perez looks like he locked up into the corner, which allows us to then take the position back from him as he understeered wide and gave us open the door, left the door wide open for us to put our car up the inside. As you can see there, front left locking up quite a big lock up there from the Mexican as we now come through past him. We're now on to lap 12, and this time Perez has got another good run on us and may overtake us prior to the corner as we are now heading towards turn 1. Decide to not fight too hard. If he makes a mistake, then we will definitely take advantage, but looks like he's managed to cleanly pass us and we've not got any response as he's now got the DRS in operation again down this back straight and we don't. So yeah, one of those things really, as we now cut to lap 14. We're on the back of our teammate Verlaine, who's yet to make his first pit stop. He started the race on super soft tyres and he's kind of not really helping us out too much in terms of the doing a teammate a favour here, as we're on different strategies, but we're going to have to overtake him down the main straight. Let's see if this new power unit upgrade and the DRS will allow us to overtake our teammate. We're going to use also the slipstream as we come across the start-finish line. He's quite far ahead of us, actually, as we now accelerate up towards that heavy braking. So we're going to try and go up the inside here. He makes a late manoeuvre, though. I'm not sure why he's doing that, considering that, yes, fair enough, fight for your position, but it's your teammate and he's on a different strategy and he's going a lot faster than you at this particular point in the race. Sorry if I'm being a little bit biased, but that's how it is sometimes. I mean, you've seen it in real life, races where teammates haven't really let each other through. But anyways, we've got more action that's taking place. I think Daniel Ricciardo's out the race, and that has triggered a safety car. So this is going to be interesting, though, because I thought it's only 2 laps away from our next pit stop lap, I think. Not 100% sure on that, but we are going to come in to fit the yellow wall soft compound tyre and try to get to the end of the race on that set, which would be quite challenging, but we'll have to wait and see on that front. This is what happened to Ricciardo, unfortunately, some sort of mechanical failure for the Red Bull, and he is out of the race. He was actually having a pretty good Grand Prix with that. I think he was on a 2-stop strategy or a 3-stopper, I'm not 100% sure, but he was quite high up the field. We now come in to the pits for this it's our updated pit stop lap as we now come into the pits. We've got also our teammate has also come in at the same time as us, so he's going to lose a little bit of time, but at least he's going to have the opportunity to come and close the gap again when the queue is formed behind the safety cars. We now accelerate out of the pits. Van Dorn is just in front of us. He looks like he has made a pit stop as well. This time we're actually going on the ultra soft tyres, so that means he's going to have to make a additional stop after the safety car comes in, as we now managed to catch up to Van Dorn towards the middle of lap 18, actually coming up towards the stadium complex. And the safety car is actually going to come in at the end of this lap. So Verlaine just about got to the back of us. Oh, with myself and Verlaine, I only just managed to get to the back of the train here, just as the news notification came up that the safety car was going to come in. As Vettel, I think, is... Oh, actually, there's 2 Ferraris leading the way, and I think it's Raikkonen leading Vettel. We've got a Renault, a McLaren, and a Williams in that initial group there, which is quite interesting. They must have not made pit stops right there during the safety cars. We now accelerate out of the final corner to restart the race. We're not as close to Stoffel Van Dorn as I would like to be, so I'm hoping the improved power output that we've got on this car is going to allow us to close the gap on that McLaren Honda. It looks like that has been the case. We may have to go for a late braking manoeuvre up into turn 1 very Daniel Ricciardo-esque, but looks like Van Dorn's managed to fend us off for now at least, although we have the inside line into turn 3. I think we've got a little wheel on the grass right there based off the camera angle and the dust that came up off the surface of the car. As we now go back on board to our the camera shot on our car. We try to go up the inside of Van Dorn into the braking zone at the end of the second DRS zone, but obviously no DRS in operation when the safety car has just come in. But Van Dorn's managed to fend us off, which has really annoyed me a little bit, and that means we're going to have to follow this McLaren for another half of a lap at least in the twisty section, which actually kind of causes us to lose a little bit of performance in this section. Also, I get a little bit raggy because I was a little bit frustrated because I didn't get the maneuver done at that point. But actually, as we now cut to the front of the field, Kimi Raikkonen's having to come into the pits. I think he's had a drive-through penalty either for speeding during the safety car or ignoring yellow flags or something like that, but he's going to drop way back, and we're now going back on board to our point of view. We've moved up one position up into 17th place, and now Wehrlein is trying to get his revenge for a little bit earlier on in the race by overtaking us into turn 1. I'm not having any of it. He's not quick enough down the straight for some reason, even though he should really have the same engine in the back of that car. But anyways, now we're going to see if we can make those inroads back into Van Dorn. One lap later, on lap 21, we're getting quite close to him, but obviously no DRS just yet. We're going to go for a late maneuver though up the inside, and hopefully there is enough of a space between myself and the next car in Perez, so that we can then make the move as we were able to do so, which is absolutely fantastic. Up into 15th place. Perez is also on the same strategy as us on those yellow wall soft tyres, so it's really just us two trying to see if we can make our way up the field as the rest of the drivers end up making their final pit stops. We're currently moving up into 12th place here with the DRS now in operation. Perez trying to go for a maneuver up the inside of a Haas driver. I think that's Grosjean on the ultra soft tyre. I think he has to make another pit stop. I'm not 100% sure on that. So we now cut to lap 24, now up to into 6th place, which is fantastic as the Haas and the Force India also go side by side again here. It looks like a really good scrap between those two guys, and we may have an opportunity to take advantage of this and get revenge on Perez a bit from his overtake prior to the safety car coming out. As we now go up the inside of Perez, he looks like he's locked up again though, and that might cost him another place to the Ferrari of Vettel, who's also made his I think final pit stop because he's on the soft. I can't remember. He's either on yellow or soft tyres or on the red super soft tyres. So we go and have a cheeky manoeuvre up the inside as he makes the as he causes the lockup. And yes, Vettel is on those yellow wall soft tyres, which means he is definitely going to the end of the race, and he's in really good shape to actually win this Grand Prix here, as again take a massive chunk of points out of his teammate and potentially take the lead in the championship heading into the last 2 rounds. We're now on to the start of lap 25. Vettel has now made his way past Perez earlier on in the on that previous lap. He's now overtaken us. We're not going to put too much of a fight against the Ferrari, as it's really going to cost us time and cost us tyre wear as well. So we're really just going to have to be we've got to be a little bit more conservative with this at the moment. As long as we keep Perez behind us, we'll be in a good shape. We're still in a great position in P5 now, which has now become P4, as we see a car that's coming out of the pits. I think it's a Mercedes, whilst Perez is trying to go side by side with us up towards the turn 1. Looks like we're going to have another ding-dong scrap with the Mexican here, but looks like he's managed to make the maneuver stick again, which means we're going to have to concede. And he's now up into the podium position. It's actually kind of that was actually quite good, actually. To be honest, the fact that he's on the podium at his home Grand Prix as it stands right now is absolutely fantastic. I want him to stay there, so I didn't put too much of a fight. Speaking of podium positions, we're now currently up into the podium slots. As another driver's made his way into the pits, is now dropped down the order a bit. I think it's one of the Mercedes, as they've now gone. If we go back to a little replay of what's happening behind us, the two Mercedes are going side by side. It's Hamilton versus Bottas, and please don't hit each other like you did when it was 2016 with Hamilton and Rosberg, but thankfully no contact between the two Mercedes. And now Hamilton is right back into a fight with us, as we saw earlier on in the Grand Prix. He's on these super soft tyres, so he is going to go to the end of the Grand Prix, and he's going to be very quick on those tyres. But what my objective is really is to try and hold on to this position as long as I can. I'm probably not going to be able to stay on the podium, but I just want Perez to have a bigger gap as possible, such that he gets a home Grand Prix podium finishes. Hamilton now has a very good run on us, heading up towards. We just come across the start finish line. We've got 8 to 9 laps to go as we now come up towards turn 1. Boss is trying to find his way through as well. Doesn't have enough speed though. As we try to go for a late maneuver up the inside of Hamilton, we somehow are able to slow the car down and take the position back. And Bottas actually took advantage of that, is now looking to take advantage of us as well, as he now tries to go around the outside into at the end of the second DRS zone. But we've got the inside line and we're able to fend off the Finn right there, which is fantastic. We're now on to the start of lap 13. Mercedes once again have swapped positions, and Hamilton again is trying to overtake us here, and they're both actually on the super soft tyres. So we go both one's on the left hand side, one's on the right hand side, and it looks like they could have easily have taken 2 positions. But again, we decide to go be bold and be late on the brakes, and we've managed to take the positions straight back from them. And they must be absolutely infuriated by that. The fact that we've been able to do that same maneuver twice in the space of 3 laps, as Bottas tries to once again go to the right of us, but this time we kind of cut them off, mainly because I was defending hard against Hamilton, and again braking late into the corner to ensure that Hamilton has to leave the space in that corner. I'm pretty sure in real life though he wouldn't have left the space, so that would have been a monumental crash. But we're just taking advantage of the fact that they seem to like leaving a little bit of space on that exit of the corner, so why not take advantage of that, as Bottas tries to go around the outside of us into the at the end of the second DRS zone again. But he's unable to make the maneuvers stick, as we now cut to a little bit later on in this lap through the sweeping left and right hand sections. There's a car that's gone off the circuit, and that's meant that actually his Bottas is actually out of the Grand Prix, which is allowed us to give us a little bit of a gap between ourselves and Hamilton temporarily. But yeah, that was really surprising. Bottas all of a sudden picking up some sort of car problem, and any last remaining hopes, mathematical hopes that Bottas had of taking the championship have all but gone right there with that retirement. As we now cut back on board to I think it was this was one lap later after Hamilton, after the Bottas retirement. Hamilton trying to go around the outsiders and then take the inside line in prior to the second DRS zone. He may have got the maneuver done here, but we've just managed to fend him off for now, at least. We now come into the heavy braking zone at the end of the DRS zone, sticking to the left-hand side of the track to prevent him from making a maneuver right there. And he's now coming under pressure from the Renault of Hulkenberg, who's had a fantastic race. Onto a lap 33 right now. Hamilton going straight past us, and also Nico Hulkenberg, which means we're kind of boxed in here, and that means Hamilton's going to be able to take the position away from us. Finally, he's now back onto the podium stop, and we're going to see if we can try and fend off Hulkenberg here. Looks like he's had a decent drive off the exit of the corner, which means we're going to have to see if we can try a late braking maneuver up the inside into the corner, but I decide to think better of it in the end. Hulkenberg seems to have a little bit of too much of a faster car, and we're really just going to see if we can nurse this car for the rest of the race. We're now on to lap 36. All the ticker tape is flying in the stadium section, especially with the fact that I think Perez has managed to get onto the podium, which is absolutely fantastic for the Mexican fans. We now come across the line in very good and positive 5th place.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Great effort there from Ferrari to take the victory today. So here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the Drivers' Table. Sebastian Vettel takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Sebastian Vettel. He was a class above today, just an absolute pleasure to watch.
The Constructors' title may already be decided, but so then, Ferrari have now moved out of sight and out of reach. It's another triumph for the Italian team as they claim the World Constructors' Championship. Another team that will be satisfied with this Grand Prix is Sauber, whose good results moves them further up the championship. There'll be plenty more twists and turns to come this season. I hope you can join us at the next race to see just who will come out on top.
So confirmation of the results from the Mexican Grand Prix. Vettel in first place, winning the Grand Prix. Perez taking a fantastic second place, that he's in front of his home crowd. Hamilton third, Hulkenberg an impressive fourth. Ourselves in fifth, Palmer in sixth, which was impressive as well. Magnussen in seventh. Raikkonen fighting his way all the way back up to eighth after the penalty. Massa in ninth, and Verstappen taking in the final point for Red Bull in 10th. And having a look and see what that does to the Drivers' Championship. And we have a new leader at the top of the championship. Vettel has taken the lead away from his teammate Raikkonen with just 2 rounds remaining. It's going to be a very close battle between those two as we head in towards the closing stages. Bottas is now mathematically out of it, and Hamilton is pretty much out of it, 39 points back with just 2 races to go and 50 points remaining on the table. We're still sat in 8th place thanks to that performance that we've got. A couple of drivers have moved up here and there. And as you can see also in the Constructors' Championship, as you heard from David Croft, Ferrari have won it. Mercedes look like they've wrapped up second, and Red Bull will probably be Red Bull and Force India clear third and fourth. But again, the battle for fifth is where it's at, as Haas and ourselves have moved, and Sauber have moved ahead of Toro Rosso after pretty good results today. 5th place from us, and 7th place from Haas. So that means that we've all moved up in front of the Italian team and back up into 5th and 6th respectively. We'll have to wait and see though if we can hold them off for the last 2 races. But we'll have to see. There's all a lot to play for here as we come towards the end of the Grand Prix. As you can see, we've got quite a lot of resource points in the bank. We're really just now saving those up for the end of the season, such that we can get multiple upgrades on the car ready for the start of next season. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It was an absolutely thrilling race. I really enjoyed doing that race when I was recording it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all for the penultimate round of Season 1, which will be the Brazilian Grand Prix. So until then, see you later.